all, we're going to the economy. And we've got Joe V, please. Joe, have you made it tonight? Lovely, Joe. We'll just get the microphone to you. One sec. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jo Volpe. I'm Chief Exec at Leeds Old People's Forum. We know that if someone loses their job in their 50s and their 60s, it takes longer for them to get back into work than their younger counterparts. What is Wickr doing to support older workers back into employment and reduce ageism in recruitment?
That's a brilliant question. Can I just say, we're obviously at a medical museum because I've got a dead bug in my water. And it's quite large. I don't quite know how to
keep that for an experiment.
Indeed. But what a brilliant question. Thank you so much for that question. And as somebody that's come into politics late in life and reinvented my career, it's something that I take a keen interest in. What's really important to me is that everybody lives a fulfilling and enriched life, and that if they are capable of working, they want to continue working, then we will help them get into work. And that's why our Future Goals website is an award-winning website. You could identify courses and opportunities, but also there are those who, particularly if you're in your 50s and 60s, you might have lost confidence because you've been in one particular job for a long time, and then suddenly you're out into the world and everybody's talking about new and entry level and young people. And we do a really great supportive program that will carry you through with your CV, with helping you identify what's next. And I had the privilege of interviewing somebody that had been on one of our programs. And we had it on camera, and I was just asking him questions. He was a graphic designer, and he was saying, you know, I was in my 50s, the business closed, I just didn't think I'd work again. And whilst I was interviewing him, he burst into tears, and I was like, are you all right? And he said, the last time I cried was the birth of my children, but I can't tell you how important this moment has been for me, that I'm not washed up into my 50s. I can contribute, and I'm so enjoying being in a young environment as well. So he found his new role. Now we've been allocated, because of our work really closely with DWP and our real outlier standard and quality of job support and careers, that we've been allocated 20 million from government as part of a Trailblazer scheme, 10 million, and then an accelerator scheme, another 10 million. They love the titles. Basically, it's about getting people into work that are a long way away from work because of poor health, and also in parallel keeping people in work that because of ill health or careers, caring responsibilities rather, could potentially fall out of work. What mitigations is that business giving that person during this period of difficulty? It's a challenge because we've been given this money, we've got to deliver in a year. We have the target is 1,300 people we've got to get into work. Now, I went to the job centre a few weeks ago with the minister on a trip. They are not very welcoming, great places. They're a place of sanctions where you have to go, and if you don't go, you get sanctioned. So how can you trust the people there who are going to help you move on to the next phase in your life? So we are working with government to offer something that is more inclusive and is more of a 360, because there are so many reasons why people can't get a job or get into work. And it's not always ill health or caring responsibilities. It can be you just don't have those digital skills that everybody seems to have. Or it is, or potentially that you're in temporary housing, or you have a real issue about transport. You just can't get there. We are here to have that 360 support, so to get you ready to even have an interview. Because when people say, we just help you with your CV, it's often much more complicated than that. So I'm hoping that with this money and with our relationship with DWP and with our challenge to government and saying, you've also got to let us fail. We might not actually be successful at this 1,300 target because we're going to have to do things differently. So I really thank you for your work and your contribution to older people. just finally, I know that you're giving me the eye about, moving on, but just finally, we know that WASPy women, who many women weren't expecting to work to 67 and are in jobs. My sister was one, she was a domiciliary carer, and she's like, I can't believe I'm going to be doing this job till I'm 67, hoiking older people out of bed and, very, very physically hard to try and enable women into their 60s, looking at another 7 years. Is there a way that we can find you a job that is more suitable, so that you don't fall out of work because you're ill yourself, because it's all too much? So it's a mixed picture, but rest assured, as somebody that is any minute now about to be 64, I think you're into your 60s, that is absolutely your golden age, and we're going to enable people in 50s and 60s to definitely have a third act.
Fantastic. Well, let's stay with the economy. Is Tommy here? Yeah. Tommy O. Tommy, just wait for the microphone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bug free. Thank you.
My name is Tommy and I am a content designer. So my question is, how is the city tackling employment disparities that affect Black communities, including access to better paying jobs?
What a brilliant question, thank you. Where do you work? What content do you create?
I work instructions content.
In what?
Instruction, so how will I explain it? When you do
It's alright, don't worry.
I'm trying to remember.
It's okay, you can come back to me.
I can't remember the word.
Okay, go for it. It's fine, don't worry, it's fine. You make instructions, and let me tell you, we all look for the instructions. I've got a new boiler and I was on YouTube straight away how to make that work, so thank you for the work that you do. When I became mayor, one of my really big drivers was we can't continue to do the things we've always done because we'll get the same outcomes. I know that there is talent in our community, but the opportunity isn't as widely spread as it should be. And bringing inclusion and EDI to the forefront of our thinking as the lens to which we look at absolutely everything, to make sure that we have those interventions. So for example, one of the first things I did, it was after COVID, people had fallen out of work, but they'd got good ideas. They were sat in their kitchen, they had a good idea, they wanted to set up their own business. So we had Enterprise West Yorkshire. Now that was a £6 million fund, but we made sure that there was really a high bar on inclusion. 50% female, 20% people from ethnic minority backgrounds. I think it was 7% people with a disability. And actually the team smashed those targets, and that was really pleasing. The Mayor's Screen Diversity Programme, young people getting into film and TV, the same thresholds where actually we have smashed it when it comes to disability, and this time round the cohort, 40% said they had a disability, but 50% of the cohort went into film and TV. So the statistics speak for themselves, that if you put in these targets, and let's not forget that Labour's all-women shortlists have meant we've got more women in Parliament than we've ever had before. You have to have targets. Now, on our training schemes and all our skills programmes, those targets, those stretch targets exist. But for adult education and skills, I'm really proud that 63% are from Black heritage communities, and nationally it's 47%. So if you put in the interventions, you get extraordinary outcomes. And for me, as the Police and Crime Commissioner, I was also anxious to gain trust of the public with policing. And one of the ways we could do that is to work hard with the police to ensure that the force reflects the community it serves. Now, I'm really grateful this evening to have colleagues with me. Fatima Khan Shah, my inclusivity champion, my deputy mayor for policing, Alison, Simon, who's basically head of transport, and Liz, who's head of building and everything else. But I'm going to just ask Alison, would you mind just speaking about what we've done regarding the police? Because I think that also might help understand what we're doing with everything else as well. Because every part of my role, whether that's about transport, whether that's about housing, skills, culture, interventions, we absolutely are focused on ensuring that everybody has access to the great opportunities that we're delivering. But Alison, if you could speak to us about the policing, if you don't mind.
Do you want me to use the mic?
Get a microphone to Alison.
Thank you. So obviously representation of policing is critical to trust and confidence. And so Tracy and myself have been holding the police to account for the numbers of black and brown officers that they recruit, because we know through 50, 60 years of policing that it's those communities that are further away from that trust and confidence piece. And through the pledge that the Mayor made, we were able to see an uplift of officers here in West Yorkshire on the front line of 895 additional officers. The government wanted data every year on how many women you were recruiting and how many black and minority ethnic people you were recruiting, and we were green, so you were either green, doing very well, amber, red, we don't go there, and here in West Yorkshire 18% of the recruits that we were bringing in were from a black, Asian and minority ethnic background, which was really good. So that's taken us from a baseline when the Mayor first came into office of West Yorkshire Police representation of police officers being 6.4% to now being 9.4%. So that has massively increased over the last 3.5 years. And we're doing more. We work with Leeds Trinity University, so they're the providers of the training for the degree entry police officers. And I meet them every 6 months and I ask them questions about the cohort, what percentage are from black, brown, Asian communities. I ask them about the gap in attainment, retention. So I'm holding them to account all the time, and if something's going wrong, then I'm holding the police to account. How are you monitoring this contract? They're not doing very well. They're doing very well. They're working with all sorts of local community agencies to try and get more and more people engaged. But here in West Yorkshire, 24% of our communities are from a black, Asian or minority ethnic background. So we're not doing as well as we need to do to be truly representative. And when Peel first set up policing, one of the Peelian principles was that the police are the public and the public are the police. So we need to achieve that, and Tracy and I are doing all we can to get to that position.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next issue, and that's housing. Now, this is from KTD. Sadly, she couldn't make it tonight, but again, talking about West Yorkshire's got a really diverse population. She says there are over 414,000 disabled people in West Yorkshire, 17.6% of the total population in the county. Now, she says these people need accessible accommodation. They shouldn't have to leave their homes when they become disabled because their homes aren't accessible. How are you encouraging developers to build accessible housing so they can all live comfortably?
That is such a great question, isn't it? Because we're all going to live longer lives, and we'll need mitigations in our homes. And nobody wants to keep moving in their 60s and 70s because of different health challenges. So when we can build homes that are lifelong homes, then we should take that opportunity. I've been really supported by the housing association. So when I first became the mayor, I had a commitment for 5,000 affordable homes, and the housing associations came together in like a consortium to support me to do that. Now that's led to developers also wanting to be part of that story to help us to deliver on our real stretch targets about affordable and sustainable homes, but also homes that you can live in for the length of your life. So we had dementia is a critical challenge because we know that a quarter of all beds in A&E, in hospital and critical care, are people with dementia that haven't been moved on to the next phase. They're a quarter of those beds. If we can get people to stop falling in their homes, then I think we can reduce admissions to hospital by 25%. These are the things we can do to support the NHS, but also to support our citizens. So that's why I set up, when I first became mayor, a dementia-ready task force. And I'm really proud that that task force has continued into my second term. And we've been able to have a sequence of recommendations, 10 different recommendations on what good looks like for dementia ready. And really pleasingly, the housing associations have taken those recommendations and are delivering them now. And also we've been able to develop a network of people who support us on this journey of 800 dementia friends from organisations that want us to deliver. But it's not just dementia and colours and sounds and lighting, but it's also width of doorways for wheelchairs, and also to have friends who may have a disability who may want to come and visit your home. How do we ensure that the homes are inclusive in themselves? So it's a real honour that for the 4th year, I think it is, that UK Reef is coming to Leeds. Is it the 4th year, James, or the 5th? 4th. Is coming to Leeds, and it's going to be 16,000 delegates coming to Leeds in May, all talking about house building, developments, what good looks like, sustainability in housing. And in everything that I do as your mayor, I make the case to these developers that boxes are no good. It's about the quality of life and the longevity of that tenure, the affordability of those homes. It's a really privileged position to have all of those people coming to our region to make the case for accessible housing. It's such a good question.
Yeah, it's just, I know when I go to a lot of stories, and this is something that comes up, has done for decades now. Do you think developers are listening? Because how many stories were done where someone in a wheelchair is basically trapped in their home, there's steps at the front, no one's built a ramp, there's no wet room. Why aren't developers just building these now, an ageing population, and yet we still seem to see the same sort of design thrown up again and again?
Well, of course it's money, isn't it? You know, the developers are a business and it's the bottom line. But I think it's also about the narrative. What type of business do you want to be? And that's why I'm really pleased that the Fair Work Charter that we've developed since I became the mayor, where businesses want to do the right thing, whether that's pay the real living wage, whether that's opportunities for volunteering or union membership or their values. And what we say to those businesses, you can recruit easier because of your values. You have sticky retention in your workforce, so it doesn't cost you a fortune going out to recruiters all the time because of your values. And young people, millennials, it feels like a long time ago I was that age, but they definitely are choosing businesses to work for and with because they share the same values. And I think it's becoming increasingly important that businesses tell the story of what they're doing for their communities where they're building. And I know that the council do mitigations on people's homes to support that, you know, that ageing population as well. But obviously it's all down to money. But I also think it's about politicians and people with a voice pushing those developers into doing the right thing.
And that mindset that are thinking about the actual people who are going to live there and making sure, they can get out of their homes and be part of the community. So we're going to stay with housing, Mayor Brabin, and this is a question from Jane S.
Okay.
Oh, hi Jane. We'll just get the microphone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Tracy. I'm Jane Station. I'm from the board of Pride of Place Leeds.
All right.
One of the two schemes we run is particularly about housing, and it's another housing inclusion issue that I'm going to ask the question about. The 2025 Alfred Kennedy report on youth homelessness found that LGBTQ+ people are twice as likely to experience hidden homelessness. Not many people realise this because there's no data collection actually at a national level. But what tailored housing action is West Yorkshire Combined Authority taking to specifically address this need in our region?
Thank you for that. And that is pretty shocking, isn't it? And there is far too much hidden homelessness as well of sofa surfing and people moving around and just trying to, you know, just get some equilibrium. But I also think that the intersectionality as well makes it even more complicated if you're a person of colour and you're LGBT+. I think we also have to widen that out slightly. I would like to thank you for the work that you're doing, raising this as a topic. And I know that that report that you mentioned, we've actually used as an organisation to develop our housing strategy, because we want to gather as much information as possible about who we're here to serve. Whether it comes to specifics LGBT plus communities, we haven't necessarily focused specifically on that, but I'm glad you've raised it, and it's something that we could definitely take away and look in more detail. But I really want to stress that I understand that people who, for many, and particularly older communities, who remember the shame and also the legal challenge of being out, and certainly, you know, as people get older, that sense of change in different communities, but you would want to be in a community that understands you and your background and your desires and the way you'd like to live. And we know that clustering does happen, and it'd be interesting to know a little bit more about the work that you're doing. Could I ask you directly, what do you think would be the solution?
Well,
because housing, good housing is housing, isn't it? Affordable housing is for everyone.
yes, absolutely. I think we've got a lot to learn actually in the area, and I think that's why we have developed the Pride of Place Living scheme, which is we're trying to set up a co-housing scheme.
I think are we supporting that? The community.
We'd love you to.
Yeah, you are now. Liz, can you give me an update?
Sure.
Sorry, Liz, to throw you in there.
Sorry, so I think we're working with an organisation called People Powered Homes, which is an organisation which is supporting community-led schemes. So they're offering advisory support, like how to build business cases. I think they've also had some support, so we're working with them,
Right.
and they've also had some support from government. And so I think they're in conversation with you, but we should probably, that's my understanding, but it'd be great to know if that is the case.
We are definitely in conversation, but I'd love to have a more detailed
Yeah,
conversation.
of course.
That would be absolutely lovely, yeah. Because I think we've got such an opportunity now in the region to do something that no one else has done across the country.
Yeah, go for it. Well, we're with you.
I think we've got the whole blueprint for it, and I just think it would be wonderful to just see it happen.
Sure. Well, I'm very happy to pick up.
Thank you.
It's
So
great
afterwards,
that
if we won't mind, thank you. Stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff.
Thank you so much, Jane. Now let's move on
And
to...
thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.
So let's move on to climate now. This is a question from Sandra M. Oh, Sandra, just wait for the microphone. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Sandra McLean, and I'm the coordinator of Litter Free Leeds. I'm the purple bag lady.
A round of applause for the club.
Right, I should have a bit of a caveat. As the leader of the council is here this evening, I would like to say that my question is no criticism of the council, who work very hard under severe financial constraints and limited resources, and who we work with very collaboratively with. Right, as the coordinator of Litter Free Leeds, we're a voluntary community-led organisation who are passionate about living in clean and litter-free communities. I represent over 5,000 members and 50 groups citywide. We're concerned about the lack of effective enforcement on littering, fly tipping and dog waste. Without penalties, offenders continue unchecked, leading to antisocial behaviour in the form of graffiti and vandalism, which makes communities look neglected and uncared for. Our volunteers collected over 22,000 branded purple bags of litter last year. Yet we urgently need support to achieve our goal of making Leeds the cleanest city in the UK. Additionally, the motorway network around Leeds, and particularly the M62 slip roads, are an eyesore, creating a poor impression for visitors. Can we collaborate with National Highways to pilot a safe, volunteer-led motorway clean-up initiative by closing a lane? Your comments and support are greatly needed to address these issues.
Gosh, those numbers are just off the scale, aren't they? Congratulations to you and the teams. I mean, I've seen you out with the purple bags, but blimey, that is quite impactful.
Yeah,
And that's on top of what the council do as well, so thank you for that.
Yes. Yeah, we just had this weekend was our Leeds Goes Purple weekend, and that's when our volunteers go out in force across the whole of the city of Leeds, leaving our purple bags by council litter bins. And we've been inundated with people wanting to join us, because it's the minority who drop litter, unfortunately.
And also, isn't it something about where you live? When it's litter free, there's a lot of, you just feel better about the place that you live. But thank you for what you do. I think the Highways England is probably the conversation you need to have about the slip road. But to support you, I mean, what can we do to help you? And Pathway, maybe on our work and health programme, we can get people who just are looking to volunteer as the next step to try and get ready to work, to maybe Pathway to come and volunteer with you. There's maybe support we can give you, but I don't know if, James, you want to basically give her a gong or something.
Thank you. Sorry, sorry I couldn't make the event a few weeks ago in City Hall, but I was out with Methley Wombles. We can't call them Wombles anymore, which is a separate issue, but I was out with them in my ward back in January. I think there's a couple of things. I mean, we have put quite a bit of resource into our serious environmental crime team at the council to try and tackle some of the sort of the real hardcore fly tipping and not just clear up fly tipping, but look for the evidence and follow that through to prosecution, which I think is something that's really important. We've also, again, in terms of sort of the hardcore fly tipping, we've done quite a lot of work to try and get rid of unauthorised waste carriers, where people were following adverts on particularly on Facebook, and then paying somebody to take the rubbish away, and the rubbish was ending up in country lanes around Leeds, not where it should have been. So there are things we're doing around flighting, but I recognise what you're talking about around littering and things like that. It's something we can do. I mean, I know we do enforce littering fines where we can catch people, because some of my residents come to my advice sessions complaining they're being fined for dropping tab ends and things like that, and why don't we go around and catch some common criminals and things like that. So I know that work's happened, but it is something, like I say, we are really focused on, as well as our teams and the volunteers cleaning the streets. So like I say, trying to catch some of the people that do it and catch some of the people that do it and make an example of people so that everybody knows it isn't actually a consequence-free crime. On the specific issue of National Highways, so my council ward is on the motorway network. We get these complaints all the time. I mean, I know the volunteers work brilliantly hard, and one of the things we do with our cleaner neighbourhoods teams is, if they know, or certainly again in my part of the world, if our staff know where litter pickers are, it means that they will get the wagons out with the signs on and go and do the side of the road. We shouldn't really have volunteers litter pickering alongside a 60-mile-an-hour road, but our staff have the vehicles with the warnings on to be able to do that. So it's a good way of working together. National Highways have contractors to clear their land. Again, it obviously works, like you say, work alongside the motorways even harder. It is something we're always talking to them about, some of the particular hotspots around where it's hard to get, where you have to work off the motorway to pick litter up. So we will look at continuing that work. But you're right, it is a particularly hard area to work, one that volunteers should be at.
Do you think there's going back a long time when I was younger, we did have those advertisements, didn't we? There was warnings and the signs of warning. It did feel as a consequence if you left your dog waste or you chucked your chewing gum and they turned it. It just feels like in the city centre there's that notion, but elsewhere,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think there are consequences, and we don't see prosecutions really, do we?
I mean, that is for communities as well to self-organise, I think that I see people very motivated, for example, in graveyards, where people walk their dogs in the graveyard but then don't pick up the dog mess, and that's very, you know, it's very upsetting for a lot of people, and they organise around that. They provide bags, and they have a camera or whatever. They've fundraised. So, you know, I'm always supportive of community-led initiatives.
Well, Sandra, keep up the great work. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
What
Great
you're doing.
team.
So let's stay with climate, and we've got Alan C, please. Alan at the front, just get a microphone to Alan, 1 second.
All right, thank you. Just hang on a bit. Hello, my name is Alan Clifford. I'm here from Notre Dame College with a large group of our A-level politics students.
Put your hands up if you're there, politics students. That's so fantastic. What a great thing to do. Thank you for coming.
And I think there's actually hopefully a couple of questions coming from our students as well. Anyway, what I'd like to ask you is, I think like a lot of people, I'm concerned about the political climate that seems to be rowing back a bit on net zero. What specific steps is West Yorkshire taking to reduce its carbon emissions, and how do you plan to support local communities and businesses in adopting more sustainable practices?
Thank you. That was a brilliant question, and we are not in West Yorkshire rowing back on our commitment. And I've committed to net zero by 2038. It's really challenging. The government target is 2050. I think Leeds' target is 2030. So you've always been an outlier and incredibly brave. But we are, tomorrow we are launching our climate and environment plan at the Combined Authority meeting. And that's how we're going to get there, how we're going to get to net zero. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be incredibly difficult, because we're going to have to see a fall in the car use that was equivalent to COVID, if we're going to get there. Also, homes. A lot of our homes are windy and drafty. They don't have the right windows. There's gas going into homes rather than electric, and we are running programs where substantial funds, 20 million in the first instance. We've bid for money from government that's going to double that. For our hundreds of thousands of homes we have to retrofit with ground source heat pumps, or with solar panels, or with more heat efficient windows, because we have too many people in our community who are in heat poverty, energy poverty, and are in cold and unsuitable homes. So it is a sort of 360 look, because it's about tackling the climate emergency, but it's also lowering people's energy bills and making homes more sustainable, but also helping businesses. Now, I was really pleased to hear from Ed that here at the Thackray, as Ed has gone, I think. Oh, there you are. You've taken advantage of our programme, haven't you? Do you just want to tell people how we've helped you so far?
We have, so as a cultural organisation, actually one of the biggest things we don't have for is professional specialism around some of this and key knowledge. So the Combined Authority have worked with us on auditing our what we need to do to make that climate action, what our carbon footprint is, and quick fixes that actually we can again apply to the Combined Authority to help us fund. So simple stuff like changing our lights, double glazing on the windows, we've got a roof that needs some repair, those kind of things, but they've got huge impact for us. We literally wouldn't be doing that work without that support.
And it's not just here, but it's businesses across West Yorkshire. We offer that advice, we offer that analysis, and then if you need a new boiler, then we'll match fund it. We're also putting solar panels on all of our bus stations. We have a solar together scheme where as a community you can, it's a bit like a reverse auction, that you can come together, and the more of you that want the solar panels, the cheaper they are. We've had a good uptake of that. We are also we also understand that we need a workforce to help us to deliver on our ambitions. Not quite sure what's happened to my sound. On our ambitions. So when I committed to 1,000 green jobs, skilled jobs for young people, we set up a green jobs task force, and that task force, one of the recommendations was young people don't know what a green job is, and actually they're making decisions in primary school with their parents are helping them make decisions about what they want to do. So we are going into primary schools to talk about green jobs and what the skills are needed for the future. So it is a many and varied attempt to get to net zero by 2038. It's transport. That's why bringing buses back into public control
Well,
is so
I'm stopping you
important.
there, Mayor, only because you're preempting. It's like you've seen these questions and you haven't. Our next question, which is going to touch on this young people and transport. Forgive my pronunciation, I hope this is right. Guilio, please do the pronunciation, my Lancastrian tones.
It's Julia.
Oh, lovely, thank you. Julio, your question please to the Mayor.
Yes, hi, I'm a student from Notre Dame College and I'm also here representing Chapel Gun Rights Centre in East Leeds. So my question is, how can young people play a bigger role in shaping the future of public transportation in West Yorkshire? And how can we make the connection between the climate emergency and public transportation clearer and more urgent?
Oh my goodness, that is my favourite question of the night. Thank you very much, Julio. You are pivotal. You are so important to my ambitions. Bringing buses back into public control, really, really important. EV buses, really important. We'll need those engineers to maintain those buses. But for me, one of the biggest areas where you can help me is in rail and in mass transit. We are going to have spades in the ground on a tram in Leeds heading to Bradford by 2028. We are determined to deliver what we deserve. We cannot be the only city of our size in Europe without a tram. The two big cities of Leeds and Bradford are disconnected. They're together the size of Estonia. Just think of the opportunities of connecting those two big cities. You are going to be the workforce, that generational workforce of engineers. Now you'll have seen the TransPennine upgrade. The Prime Minister came to our region last week. I was very pleased to host him at Camera, who make all of the seat covers, what's it called, upholstery, for the tube. And we're hoping that they're also going to make it for the TransPennine new trains, but also for our tram. Anyway, the Prime Minister came and committed to more money to continue the work for the TransPennine upgrade. But we've got 5,000 people working on that, 3,000 engineers in our region. Just imagine the opportunities for our young people, those apprenticeships, being able to take those talents and then just roll them right over into a tram network that's a 10-year programme. I am going to need transport planners, I am going to need engineers and people who understand biodiversity and communities and buildings and. The opportunity for our region is off the scale. Now, government asked mayors to develop a growth plan, how we would grow our region, but also use that growth plan to inform the industrial strategy. And astonishingly, at the heart of the growth plan is the engineer. Everything we do, whether that's digital engineering, whether that's mechanical, whether that's chemical engineering, we are the home of the engineer. And I want to make that case that our young people are really going to be part of this future, but also it's about democracy. And if I may come to you again, Alison, if you wouldn't mind, would you talk about the Youth Commission? Yeah. Because also I want your voice at every level of my decision. We have made the decision to be a child-first organisation where everything we do has the child's perspective as the lens. How is this going to impact children? What would children say? What's the voice of children? And it could not be more crucial in policing and crime. So, Alison, would you mind?
And Alison, I'm going to be strict, you'll have to do it in 1 minute.
Okay.
So there are lots of ways that we speak to young people, but it's adults speaking to young people. And what's different about Leaders Unlocked is that we're training young people to be peer researchers, talking to other young people about what the issues are, what the solutions are. They've created 2 pieces of work so far, reports. The first one was about serious violence, as a result of which Tracy has made serious violence the #1 plank of her new police and crime plan. And they've also got a campaign called Take a Seat, which is amplifying some of the concerns that young people, over 1,000 young people, I think it's 1,400 young people actually now, have been telling the Mayor our problems for them. And we're going to be working with them for another 12 months to do some more work about the issues that are affecting young people, and hopefully, by listening to young people, we'll start to get some of the things that we've been getting wrong right.
Thank you.
Thank
And the
you.
Children's Commissioner came last week actually
Brilliant.
to say she wanted to work more closely with us because of the work that we were doing.
Fantastic. So yeah, staying with transport now. And Lee from Otley. We'll just get the microphone to you, Lee, please.
Hello.
Hello, thank you. Otley suffers from having unreliable and patchy transport. As the chair of trustees at the Otley Courthouse, I'm concerned about the impact this has on our audience numbers and our plans to increase the arts and cultural offerings at the courthouse. So could you tell me if there are any plans to improve the transport links?
Thank you. You have the microphone. Do you want to tell our audience, your captive audience, what you do at the in Otley and your organisation?
So it's an arts, community and music venue. Been running for 20 years. It's in the old courthouse, so where they used to dispense rough and ready justice, from what I've heard. We still have one of the old heritage cells in there. We run about 500 events a year, children's events, theatre, music, film, you name it, it's a bit of everything.
Thank you for what you do for the community, and it's at the heart of Otley, and people absolutely love it, and you've got a lot of support. But your fundamental question is why I took the decision to bring buses back into public control, because you don't have the service that you deserve, and far too many people in Otley are using their car. And if I'm going to get to this 2038 target, I've got to support people like yourselves to have a better transport network. I think there are plans for active travel hub in the centre of Otley, is my understanding, but I'm going to come to you, Simon, for some bus numbers and how we can try and improve that connectivity. But I think there's going to be some EV bikes that you could rent and secure bike storage. I think that's also important because given the circumstances, being able to maybe make the first half a mile to better transport. What we are always going to work towards is an integrated transport plan where the buses feed the trams, where active travel feeds the bus and the tram. So that's what we're going to go out to consultation on, where we also bring in the rail network, so Ilkley to Leeds, for example, or the 5 towns, where you can tap in, tap out, and it's all part of one integrated ticket. And that's what we want for places like Otley, where it might be that you use a bus to get to the tram, or it might be you pick up an EV bike if you're happy cycling and so on. But what's the bus numbers up there, Simon? Sorry, it's not a quiz, but if you do know, if you do know anything in particular.
This is when I reveal that I know too many bus numbers. We have had some real issues in maintaining a steady network out in the Otley area. It is a very good example, as the Mayor says, of the reason why she took the decision to franchise the system. The provision of services across West Yorkshire at the moment is a postcode lottery, and what we will guarantee through our franchising commitment is that we will provide a consistent service across West Yorkshire. What we've been doing in Otley is, in part, there has been a fantastic community response. I think it was the X84 that was pulled for a little while. Brilliant response from the community that we could then use to put the pressure back on first, and that service is healthy and running again, and that's really positive. First, have stated that they were going to withdraw services 33 and 34 between Otley and Guiseley. We've stepped in to fund that. So where we can with funding for the time being, we're looking to stabilise as much as we can do. Something else that I'd be really keen to do, more than happy to put you in touch with colleagues, is to make sure that the travel information services that we've got work well for cultural destinations. So if we can help with your website in terms of keeping up to date how your visitors and your customers can access the courthouse, then very happy to put you in touch with some people for that.
Thank you very much, Simon. And I think we also fund the Saturday and Sunday service.
Yes.
Because they pulled that. So, I mean, basically, we're paying for the bus network anyway. So taking it back into public control, we might as well, mightn't we? Because we're just paying for all the services that bus companies don't think are profitable for them. So it's got to work for the people, and it's definitely got to work for cultural organisations, because the right to a cultural life it should be a given.
Hopefully then more buses and reliable in the evenings at weekends, so we will hopefully watch and see, and that will improve. Now we're staying with buses. We love the theme of buses. You might be up again, Simon. So have we got Alice J here, please? Raise your hand. Thanks, Alice, at the back. We'll just get a microphone to you.
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm from Nottingham. I was wondering if you could please explain what specific challenges have led to the price of bus tickets being increased, which many young people rely on for their school and work commutes, and how your plans will restore, how your plans will create a more reliable and affordable network for commuters.
Honestly, if I could make them free for everybody, I would, because that's what they do in some other countries, don't they? That they make it free and everybody uses them. Of course they do. So September 22, we use money given to us from government, what's called a Bus Service Improvement Plan, BSIP money, to bring fares down to £2. So the way that works is we subsidise the bus company, we pay the rest. But we knew we've got to bring the bus fares down. Now we had an under-19 fare that we brought in that was really well used, but it was really important that everybody understood the simplicity of a £2 fare. And the challenge for West Yorkshire is different bus companies charging different prices. If you've bought a first ticket and then because first it's delayed or whatever, you want to jump on an Arriva, you have to pay again. So that's why using the M card and our Day Saver, which is any bus, anywhere, any number of journeys, back in 22 it was £4.50. And for those people with a multitude of jobs or different responsibilities or kids and taking them out to after school club and then go and see young gran or whatever, actually that was really impactful for a lot of people. Now, government then rang us and said, how are you doing it? And then it became a national programme, and I'm really proud about that. But it's hard to sustain. And the government, you'll know, have brought in the £3 fare. We've managed to keep ours to £2.50. And we're using the extra 50p to increase services, as you've heard just this evening, where bus companies are pulling services, we're having to pay for them. So we're using some of that extra money to pay for routes. But this isn't sustainable in the long haul. What we have got to do is we have got to get our network, and it will be fully franchised by 2028, and make the case that bus is the first choice. Because if we get the buses busy, then we can have the income that will help us with those reduced fares. Now, we're also looking at young people and opportunity. So there's a scheme called Project Hope, where care leavers get free travel. We're also, we've got a scheme where if you're an apprentice and on a low wage, you get free travel. We've got a number of schemes that are trying to help. But your point is really well made, because how are we going to encourage people to get on the bus unless it's cheaper? But also, it has to be reliable, it has to be clean, you have to be able to get Wi-Fi, charge your phone, all of these things, comfortable, safe, all of these things are part of the picture. And just finally, that's why I use some of our apprenticeship levy share money. Big business can't spend all their levy to pay for apprentices, so they give it back to the Treasury. We've said, let's keep some of that. And over the last few years, we've kept £10 million in our region, and we've funded training for SMEs and other things. And we were able to fund 15 police community safety officers to go on the buses and in bus stations, so people feel safer when they're travelling out and about. And I know, particularly for young women, well, anybody that wants to travel late at night, that it's always good to see someone in a high vis. You just feel a bit more comfortable. So it is my mission. Remind me your name again? Alice. So when I see you in 3 years' time, in 28, and it's fully franchised, I'll say, Alice, I made you this promise that this bus network will definitely work better for young people than it does at the moment, because it's not fit for purpose because of the erratic fares. We've tried to stabilise it, but I know you deserve the bus network that young Londoners get that we just don't have access to.
Well, we are staying with buses.
Can I just say, Alice, please become a transport planner or something. Come
Is
and
that
work with
possibility,
me.
Alice? Yes or no? Oh, or a politician that
Winning! I am winning!
So we're
Winning
staying
life.
with buses. Congestion. It's Clive here. Clive W. Clive at the front now. We'll just get a microphone to you, Clive.
Good evening. My name's Clive Woods. I'm from Edinburgh Civic Society, and for many years we've been having a problem with congestion, cancelled buses, and what brought about my question really was just in November, how long did it take me to get from Yeadon into Leeds? Well, actually it was nearly 2 hours. Now, on the timetable it should have been an hour and a quarter, but if it's at night it's actually 35 minutes, half the time. Which just shows the problems that congestion have. And I could point out the hot spots on the route. Unfortunately, Kirkstall Road, A65, the quality bus route in 2008, did have bus lanes up to the ring, well, a good way to the ring road. And it was supposed to continue, apparently, according to the papers and the documents, towards Menston. But that never happened. So my question is, it's a major problem for our bus service. It's unpredictable, particularly now with working from home. And waiting at a bus stop for a long time isn't great. Bus lanes would seem to be the answer and a continuation of the earlier schemes, but none are planned for our area. Buses are late or cancelled. And of course, coming out of Leeds, if it takes 2 hours to get in, there's no bus to take people back home again. So what can you do to improve this? Are we going to see more bus lanes in our area?
Thank you so much for your question and for your dedication to buses since 2008. Thank you for that. And the intel about the bus lane. I don't know what happened back in the day, because obviously it wasn't on my watch. But just to reassure you that this is one of the biggest challenges, is congestion. And that's why bus priority lanes have got to be part of the solution. And also to encourage people to use public transport, not use their car. And I don't know about you, but that road between Leeds and Bradford is just bumper to bumper, and a waste of people's time, productivity and energy. So we've got to focus on bus lanes. I know that some of the infrastructure that we've built can actually reduce the journey times 15-20 minutes, and you can actually rely on the time it's going to take, because part of the issue is when you're getting a bus, you don't know how long your journey is going to be, so why would you take it when you can jump in the car and you know a back double and you know how long it takes you to get to work. Or even on a train, if it's a regular train that you take every day, you might know how long it takes. But the bus has got to be as reliable as jumping on a bicycle, so you know how long the journey time is. I don't know about the specific to Menston. Anybody on the front row have anything to add about Menston?
It is something, as you said, I am not far from there. It's gone on for years.
The A65?
Yeah.
Kirkstall, then
To
through to
Guiseley
Guiseley.
and on to
Yeah.
Guiseley.
Anything to add, Simon?
So just to explain, there are a couple of really important changes. So I think, and I wasn't around either, but I think the reason why the second part of the investment didn't happen at the time was a product of the problem that we faced as city regions at the time, which was stop-start funding from a central government model. The very positive step forward through ongoing devolution is that we will now move into a long-term integrated settlement of capital funding. That means that we can plan networks properly. So that's a really important step forward and allows us to come back to our programmes. We will be consulting this summer on a new local transport plan for West Yorkshire, and within that local transport plan we want to bring forward a new plan for bus priority across West Yorkshire. We're doing an awful lot of work at the moment with the data on congestion hotspots right across the conurbation, and I know that corridor is a corridor that's been identified through the data. So I'd really encourage you and all residents to get involved in the consultation this summer, really help to give us the backing for the bus priority plans, and then we can start to move it forward.
Is that Kirkstall Road, is that where the housing is going to be, Liz? Oh, James.
Yeah, so the Kirkstall Road bit, like Simon says, it was we got some of the funding to build. Sadly, I was around when this was going on, so we got some of the funding to build a bit from the Evening Post roundabout out to Kirkstall Ford, but the second part, when funding was pulled from a lot of projects in 2010, so like that and Castlewood Interchange, I can think of a few more, there was no money there. I mean, you're absolutely right, it is so important that buses have bus lanes to get through. There is a sort of lots of work happening around Leeds at the moment to try and put in more bus priority, but I appreciate if it's not on your route, Clive. It's not helping.
It's gone on for years, that hasn't it?
It's not helping
and the bus
you.
to Otley from Leeds goes
yes.
on some of that, and it
Yes.
just takes like 3 hours sometimes.
Yes.
So,
But I appreciate, I appreciate that, and the congestion is a challenge that we're going to face head on.
anyway,
we've
got to move on. We're staying with probably congestion and
Thank you,
transport. Thank you. Is Cora here? Cora, we'll just wait for a microphone, please, and mass transit.
Oh, yes, another favourite topic.
Hi, I'm Cora and I also study at Notre Dame. There have been previous attempts to bring trams back to Leeds. For example, the Leeds Supertram, initially proposed in 1980 with planning beginning in 1991, which was unfortunately unsuccessful. These attempts collapsed at the cost of millions of pounds in taxpayers. What is your strategy to ensure the mass transit scheme is successfully delivered this time around?
Thank you so much for that question. And there is a lot of history to the tram, and certainly when we're looking at outside on out in Whitehall, what's that road called?
Wellington Street.
Wellington Street. There are tram lines in the street, and you think they've just ripped them all. You know, we had trams, now we don't. But you're absolutely right. The history is a bit parlous. That we've had 2 attempts already, and the previous, the most recent attempt was underway almost, and then the money was pulled because it wasn't cost effective or it cost too much. Of course, it's going to cost a lot of money. These big infrastructure projects cost a lot of money. The Victorians didn't think, oh, we can't build our rail network because it's going to cost a lot of money. I have to say this will cost a fortune, and people should not be wincing at the price because the cost of not doing it is greater than the cost of doing it. And fast forward 20 years and it will feel like pennies because the impact will be so massive. The reason why this is going to be different, because it isn't just a tram for Leeds. It is connecting the whole of West Yorkshire. We are starting Leeds up to Bradford and Leeds down to Kirklees towards Dewsbury. That work, we're doing a survey about how we start that work. And this is about that spine, and then once you've built something, you can build off it, and it brings in regeneration and confidence and investment. This is going to get done because we have the political will, all the local leaders want it. The public also want it. 3/4 of the people in Leeds who took part in the consultation wanted it. 2/3 of the people of Bradford wanted it. And I also have to say, it was very reassuring to hear the Chancellor in her recent spring statement also show continued support. And I think all the journalists were trying to get the Prime Minister on camera to say, yes, I support mass transit, we will give them the money. I think they got we will support the work of mass transit. So it is going to be a chunk of cash.
You can see why people are
Yeah,
sceptical, because we've been promised it a lot.
But the cost of not doing it is greater than the cost of doing it. And why on earth should we have to be last in the queue when, you know, London's got Crossrail, the Elizabeth line, all these huge infrastructure projects? We can do it. Transport and Upgrade is on time, on budget, probably the only infrastructure project in the history of projects that's on time and on budget. Is, you know, HS2, they you know, that's why it fell apart, because they couldn't get that project to work. We are on time and on budget in Transport and Upgrade. We will deliver on mass transit, and unfortunately Simon is the person that's going to deliver.
Well, we will hold you to that, Right, we've got to leave transport. We've got one last preset question. That's from Tom. This is about from Burbantoft, actually. Hiya, Tom.
Good evening, good evening, fellow
Hello.
audience members. My name's Tom. I manage a charity called Burbantoft Community Friends, based just down the road here from this fabulous place. We support older people with social opportunities and outreach support. Burbantoft is an area with rich history and amazing people, but not without social challenge, particularly around investment in the area, amenities and safety. What plans do you have to improve LS9 and the surrounding areas?
Honestly, I think thank you for all you do, and I think it is, like you say, it's got a complex history. It has challenges, but the community spirit is really rich. And you know, the boxing club up there. Are you near there?
Yeah, we're based in the Anglers. The boxing club is just further up in the Burton side.
But thank you for what you do. Now, there's a number of things we're going to be doing, but I'm going to ask my colleague Fatima Khanshah to talk about the work that we're doing with community groups and bringing community groups together, and particularly around how old are your cohort?
So I'm going to apologise now, because older people towards the people aged 55 plus.
That's
so
okay.
the audience that gets offended, I'm very sorry.
We've got some very offended people in the front row.
We're reasonably low in it. We're 55 up to our oldest member's 97.
Thank you. But Fatima, you've been doing a lot of work in community outreach as well, haven't you?
Absolutely. So evening everyone. Very proud to be the first ever West Yorkshire Inclusivity Champion. Thank you very much. I feel that way when I'm done. One of the things that Tracy's really passionate about is equity and fairness in every single thing that we do. And part of that is empowering communities to co-create solutions and also support them to be delivered. So part of that is some of the work that the incredible colleagues in the audience who lead on our engagement work is about how we involve people in our decision making, but also part of it is the work we're doing with the Work and Skills programme, which is about how we support people who may be struggling due to long-term health conditions or have been out of work due to caring responsibilities to return back into work. So what we're really trying to do here in West Yorkshire, and particularly in Leeds, is make it a region of opportunity, a city of opportunity, where irrespective of your path in life or the skill set that you've got, we see the transferable skills that you have, and we want you to help us co-create solutions, whether it comes to civic society involvement, whether it comes to the decisions that we're taking, or whether it comes to the programmes like transport or other things that we're delivering like skills, to ensure that everybody here can fulfil their potential. So my ask back to you is, will you help us with that? Because we can only support people when we're working together with them, and also we know where they are. So come and have a chat with me afterwards and we can see what else we can do. And while I have the floor, Mayor, very quickly, I also have the privilege of convening one of the best networks, I think, in the world. It's called the Women of West Yorkshire, and it's another way in which, thank you very much, it's another way in which we involve people from all walks of life, that's women and allies, to support Tracy in the decisions that she's taking
scheme, but also in the change that we're trying to manifest. So get your phones out, hopefully on silent, Google Women of West Yorkshire and join our network as well, because that is another way in which we can involve communities to be part of the change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. Now that brings to the end our pre-submitted questions, so it's time to open the floor to you all. So do put your hand up if you've got a question. First up here. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm another student from Notre Dame.
Yay!
Notre
Dame all the way.
I come a bit further. I come from Kirklees, Murfield. Murfield, yeah, near Huddersfield. One of the issues I think that exists within the West Yorkshire Combined Authority is that it doesn't seem like a West Yorkshire Combined Authority. It seems like a Huddersfield and Bradford Combined Authority, and quite often throughout the questions, it was a lot about Leeds and Bradford. What work are you doing towards helping the other areas of West Yorkshire, like Halifax, like Huddersfield, the Calderdale and Kirklees?
Thank you, that is a great question. Thank you for coming. Just to explain the Mayor's question time, that I do go around each local authority, yeah, I know that you know this, and have very bespoke conversations. But your point is well made, because we're not just, people sometimes say, well, it's all about Leeds. And I was the MP for Batley and Spen for 5 years, and everybody in Batley and Spen believed all the money went to Huddersfield. All the people in Huddersfield think all the money goes to Leeds. All the people in Bradford thinks the money goes to Ilkley. Everybody feels that they're not getting a fair slice of the pie. So what my job is to have a strategic view about the whole of our region. We have the Fair Work Charter to make sure businesses do the right thing. And then after work, they can go to something amazing in the evening because we've supported that cultural offer. And then they can get home safely at night because that bus network works. That's my vision for this region, that wherever you live, somehow your life is touched by the work that we have done. And we're on a mission. I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be easy, but I really am heartened by this evening, by the quality of the young people here. Thank you, sir, for bringing them. And you are the future legacy of our region. You are going to be the politicians, the mayor, and I hope that you take something from this evening where you think you can change your community for the better by getting involved. And the fact you're here tonight proves that you're real quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but
I'm in Murfield on Friday at a public meeting, just so you know.
Just who was next? Lady with the scarf, thank you.
Do you want to take them as a cluster? So everybody gets a chance.
Yeah, I think we've got 8 minutes.
Oh, okay,
so.
good.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Landells. I campaign with the retired members of Leeds Unison, and I've also got friends in the Leeds cycling campaigns. I've got questions around both those issues. First of all, Arriva have just commissioned, they just brought out some new buses, and you can't get the large mobility scooters on them. And you can't put bikes on buses so that people can get on the X84 to get out to Otley and then cycle up into the Dales. That's the first issue.
Should we answer that and then we'll
Just
come back?
while you find the second
time,
one,
aren't we? Yeah.
just to say about the bikes. Somebody at a public meeting suggested bike racks on buses. I think there's something quite interesting about that. I do understand, unless it's a Brompton, and you can fold it. I think the challenge is for people in wheelchairs and with prams to make sure that there's space for everybody. A fold-up bike, I think, is okay, but I think some of these, particularly some of these EV bikes are big and heavy, and I wonder whether that would be fair or inclusive. But there's something to be said for a bike rack.
We'll come back to you if you can, because we just want to give everyone a question if possible. So, oh yes. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Lotty. Hi, everyone in the room. I just want to, before I make my point, I just want to say We obviously sent the BSL interpreter home, or is she still here? But obviously people have other access needs. All evening I've been hearing, can anybody put their hand up? Obviously I was born without hands and feet, so maybe a better way to say it is, can somebody communicate if they need it? You know,
Perfect.
because
We'll
we're
take that
talking
away,
about
thank you.
equity, diversity and inclusion, and obviously I feel left out. So like I said, I was born without hands and feet. I've set up my own charitable company, learning opportunities via EJAS. We go around schools, colleges, universities, and we do disability presentations. So I actually submitted a question. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't chosen. The question was...
You have the floor.
Thank you. The question was, I'd like yourself and obviously colleagues in the room to help me promote my charitable company in terms of we'd like to deliver disability equity training, not just to schools, colleges and universities, but to partners who make decisions on transport, on buildings, because I've been to loads of meetings where, oh yeah, we can change this building, but where was the thought process when the building was built? You know, I've been to transport meetings, this is just for the chappie who's in charge of the transport, sorry, is it Simon? Yes, sorry, I forgive you, yeah. So, oh, no, I don't forgive you, forgive me. But I've been to meetings where people have said, oh, we encourage people to, you know, purchase accessible cabs because you'll make lots of money. But for me, as somebody with a physical disability, that's the wrong tactic to choose. You need to have an accessible cab because you've got the heart to look after somebody with a disability. I've often been in a Hackney carriage cab or a private hire cab where the driver doesn't come out and help you because they're more worried about putting the meter on for the next journey. So, you know, I hope anybody, you know, who feels that they can help support my charitable company, please reach out to me. I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming this evening.
I've got, I know we're short of time. I've just got a couple of questions. Just for, can you hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
Just for the audience. So the first question is, I'd like to ask everyone, where do they live? Obviously, I don't want to tell them, I don't want you to tell me your address. So just a moment, just to think about that. And then, what do you earn? So, I hope your question matches mine. I'd like to say I live in people's hearts. And I'd like to say I earn people's trust and love and support. Thank you.
Oh, that's if I may just pick up on that, I think your point is really well made. Thank you. We do have an orange a wallet for hidden disabilities on the bus network. But if you've limb difference, obviously it's a different challenge. When we were looking at our bus consultation, we worked with a variety of organisations, deaf organisations and so on. I've also was very smug at one point that we had a speaking bus stop. And you press the button, you can't hear a thing because the traffic's so loud. So being able to really have that focus, we're going to take away what you've said and hopefully you'll be able to help us. Fatima, can I ask if you wouldn't mind saying hi at the end?
We know each other.
Oh, good stuff. Very
Again,
good.
it's that accessibility in housing, you know, for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yes.
But thank you for
so
coming
much.
this evening.
We must, so sorry, we must move on. In the pink jacket, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sami Malik, and my question is, sorry, I'm just going to take a moment.
It's okay.
Right, so being a survivor of domestic abuse, being a survivor of domestic abuse, I found it...
Take your time, it's all right, lovely.
Would you like to speak or just?
I found it a challenge.
It's all right,
in terms
just tell me.
In terms of getting my voice heard. And having reported abuse over several years to West Yorkshire, it just felt as though it's an uphill sort of battle, not being
unfortunately, with my experience, it's been that despite having called out certain behaviours, despite having to call out my perpetrator and finding some sort of stability back in my life, I've realised that there is not enough training within the policing, that it's like you go there to report your abuser and then at the same time you're having to address behaviours of certain police officers that it's just uncalled for. As to the questions that they put to you, they're not just highly inappropriate, but they're not even relevant to the actual abuse that you're trying to report. So my question is, why is it that within the departments that, well, I work within a government department, and my abuser has passed DBS checks, but unfortunately when I reported him to the police, it appeared that he had fallen for stalking. But why is it that stalking never gets flagged up within DBS checks?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Just thank you. Firstly, let's have a deeper conversation about this. Speak to Alison, and we'll get to the bottom of what went on, because it sounds like that's utterly unacceptable. And I can't tell you how brave you've been in a room full of strangers, just sharing that story. And I'm really incredibly proud of you. Is this your family?
No.
Oh, okay. I just wonder whether you're right. And no. Thank you so much for sharing. And we're here. We won't be running off. Okay, so don't go anywhere afterwards.
And we know stalking, don't we, is something very much that
If I could just widen that
doesn't
out.
often lead to prosecution. It's very hard for the victim to prove this is happening, isn't it?
Indeed.
The laws don't seem to be in place yet.
Also, we know that stalking is on the timeline to femicide. We know that that often is the beginning of behaviour that then unfortunately ends up in a tragic situation. And we have, Alison and I, working together with West Yorkshire Police, focused on stalking. We've set up a stalking advocacy service with victim support. We are holding West Yorkshire Police to account for stalking, that they weren't issuing enough stalking protection orders, because without that order, they can still come after you. We've used DNA spray, which is a forensic spray, to give to victims of domestic abuse and stalking. That has increased confidence. We've had our first conviction using the forensic spray that stays on your skin and clothes for 3 months, and it stops the he said, she said. It is proof that you've broken that stalking protection order. It is incredibly complex with social media and so on, but we are on a mission to eradicate violence against women and girls in West Yorkshire. And I said when I became mayor, I want West Yorkshire to be the safest place to be a woman or a girl. That is going to be the challenge of my life. But we are investing all of our energies, all of our focus on safety of women and girls, but also on prevention. So men and boys, you are our allies. You are part of the solution. So the hashtag Just Don't campaign, which is about banter and how banter can end up in serious violence. That viral video, that video went, I think it's watched by 8 million people. Pink shared it. It's reaching into those communities of young men who just don't know what to say when they're hearing that banter and how to intervene and be, great bystanders. So it is a complex picture, but certainly West Yorkshire Police are coming with us on that journey, and we are holding them to account on their training, on what you have to do when you come into a scene where you've had a call about domestic violence, but everything seems fine. You get there, everything's fine. What to look out for, how to really talk to people, how to support the victim and the survivor. But Alison, is there anything you'd like to add
very quickly?
I think it's an important
Yeah, so huge loads of work. So the mayor asked the police to buy into the Safe Lives national training that's endorsed by National Women's Aid. 3,500 police officers have now undergone that training in the last 2.5 years. We are doing so much work at West Yorkshire Police to improve their understanding. Professor J. Monkton-Smith said the timeline of homicide training, they're getting that as well. We've got Paladin coming in to do stalking training. They've got a stalking coordination unit that they set up 2 years ago at the request of the Mayor because they weren't doing investigating stalking properly. But you've got my card, this is my area. Email me, we'll pick up any concerns around the investigation, the trust and confidence, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you,
Yes.
Alison. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that.
I know that's something that you really want to improve, and thank you so much for sharing that. You know, we hope that it will lead to changes. And thank you everyone for coming along. We've talked about so many issues. Sorry if I didn't get to you. A lot of questions to get through. Thanks to our speakers and to our hosts here, and to Mayor Brabin of